This full moon in Aquarius has so many dynamic aspects going on that I don't even know if we're going to be able to talk about them adequately in one video. Because in August, we have this eclipse season starting, right? And this is the beginning of when things really start amping up again. Because the first couple of months of 2026, comparatively, relatively, were a little bit slower, and things started amping up really in April. And then they kind of started slowing down again, and it was more about release. And now we're moving into another space where it's going to be, yes, about release, but things are going to feel louder. Eclipse season, it's always louder. So this full moon is really also about release, right? Full moons are about release. They're the culmination of what happened from the last 6 months when we had a new moon in Aquarius. So you can think back to about 6 months ago, January, February of 2026. What was going on in your life in the Aquarius part of your chart? What were you starting then? This is going to be a culmination of that. But because it's a full moon, it's also going to be this illumination for you. So something being illuminated, you having this realization, this understanding of something needs to change. And I think for this one specifically, it's going to be around growth. What needs to change so that you can fully step into a more authentic, a more bold, a more confident version of yourself? And there are some nuances there, of course, right? I would hope so, because we probably have those opportunities a lot, but there's a lot of nuances here. So I've got my notes here that I want to briefly read off of, and then we'll take a look at the charts, the astrology chart, the human design chart, and see what we're looking at here. So this full moon is happening on July 29th at 8:36 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, or Mountain Daylight Time. I used to live in Arizona, so I still am getting used to the fact that daylight savings is a thing, because we don't do it in Arizona, in case you didn't know that. Mountain Daylight Time. It's going to be happening at 6 degrees Aquarius. So if you guys have anything at 6 degrees of Aquarius, even Leo or Scorpio or Taurus, this is going to be affecting you directly. This is happening right on top of my Saturn in Aquarius. So that is going to be interesting. It already is interesting. When we have full moons, especially ones as powerful as this one, and this axis, Leo Aquarius, has been lit up for all of July, essentially. So whenever we have full moons, we're feeling them at least 1 week before they happen and for at least 1 week after. So just, it's not this like one-time thing, and they're a part of a greater cycle as well. So you're already probably feeling this. And this is just kind of going to, the moon helps us when it's full to illuminate something, because it's the emotional body and the unconscious. So when it gets full, it's illuminating something to us, which is amazing. We have Jupiter Cazimi at 6 degrees of Leo happening on the same day. We have Moon conjunct Pluto on the same day as well. And the nodes have just moved into Leo and Aquarius. So that is a huge aspect as well. In human design, this is happening in gate 41, which is the gate of contraction. And this is where Pluto has been all year. So we already have been working with this energy from human design all year, and from astrology as well. But human design breaks up the sky into 64 gates. So it's a lot smaller. It's about 5 degrees per gate. And this is a gene key 41 as well, because I like talking about gene keys and bringing in the shadow and the gift aspect of this. And when it comes to somatics, this is really a root chakra activation. So this is going to push us, and I'll talk more about this why later, but this is going to really push us into wanting to take action, but it's gonna have very particular taste to the type of action that we are going to be taking. So without further ado, let's begin. As I'm pulling up the charts here, on August 1st, I do have a live call happening for Mapping the Shadow. I'm really excited because, as we just briefly talked about, the moon is an unconscious body. Full moons are a time where the unconscious can be more easily illuminated, which is why people tend to kind of go crazy a little bit, because most of us don't do well with the unconscious because it's unconscious. We don't see it. So Mapping the Shadow is out right now, and we're going to be doing live chart demos. If I don't even do your chart for the live chart demo, I will also be taking birth information, if you want to tell me what's going on in your life, and putting it in the course. So even if I don't do it live, there's an opportunity for you to maybe get your charts read and put in the course anonymously as well. So you can sign up down below if you're interested in learning how to illuminate your patterns, the framework that I teach, regarding human design, astrology, and then of course somatics on how to actually work with the unconscious. So let's take a look at the chart here. Okay, so we've got this Jupiter Cazimi, which essentially means that Jupiter is being purified by the rays of the sun. Oh gosh, yes. And then we've got this Moon Pluto conjunction. As you can see, we have the nodes that have moved into Leo and Aquarius just a few days before this, July 26th. So just briefly, I want to say that the nodes really work in cycles. So we're thinking about what was going on about 9 years ago and about 18 to 19 years ago. So this is going to put us in 2017 and then 9 years before that. So 2008, 2009, 2007 to 2009 energy. So what was going on in your life in Leo and Aquarius parts of your chart then? Because that is going to really tell us what themes are coming up. It's really insane when I work with people, how much we see, especially about 18, 19 years ago, because that's the whole nodal cycle, because that's when it was in the exact same place. North node was in Aquarius, South node was in Leo. Versus, 9 years ago, that's more so when we had a nodal reversal from where we're at. So 19 years ago, what was happening in your life? Connecting the dots regarding what was happening regarding your sense of self. Who were you becoming? What was happening in your communities? And of course, when you look at your chart, this is going to really tell you specifically where it's happening. For example, I'm a Leo rising. So for me, it was me and my relationships. But, if you have Leo in the second house, it might have been more about money and different ways of making money and self-worth and value. And also because it's the eighth house, like deeper relationships and so on and so forth. But the themes around Leo is like the self and Aquarius is the collective. So we've got Mars squaring Venus. Oh, this is chaotic. You guys, this is chaotic energy. Full moons are already kind of chaotic, but I gotta be honest with you guys, as a Gemini sun, Mars in Gemini gives me anxiety. Mars in Gemini gives me anxiety. It's just like, obviously the assertion doesn't have a lot of places to go of Mars than words and thoughts. But I will say Mars in Gemini always helps me stand up for myself. So I think that is a really helpful way. It's like setting boundaries can be really what Mars here asks for, like verbally actually putting them out there. It's really kind of when you've gotten to the end of your crap, like you can't keep taking something anymore. I have a video that I talk about boundaries because setting boundaries verbally isn't always necessary. It's really not. And then sometimes it is, right? Life is not so black and white. It's not so simple, or it's not so easy to just know exactly when to do what, but I kind of walk you through it in that video as well. This is chaotic regarding our relationships because these are two very relational planets and they're both in mutable signs, which are chaotic. I know, being one myself. I got a little bee friend. Hello, little bee friend. And Venus in Virgo is in her fall. So Venus in Virgo does not do well here, although I really kind of like Venus in Virgo for a lot of reasons. This is a very discerning Venus. And that's part of the reason Venus doesn't like being here, outside of the technical aspects of why it doesn't like being here. It's discerning. And Venus is generally wanting to please and to harmonize, and Virgo is more critical. And so I really feel like this is for a lot of us where we're going to be setting a lot of boundaries with people. A lot of boundaries with people are being set, things that you will no longer tolerate depending on where these are happening in your chart specifically. But I think that's going to be a theme because squares it's a tension and it's asking us to grow from the tension that we're feeling. So we always want to look at the ruler of the moon, which is Saturn, and also Uranus, the modern ruler. And so of course we've got this Barbeau's basket going on. I love that everyone's talking about it because it is a huge turning point in our evolution as humans and of just this planet. So lots of videos out there. I talked about that briefly as well. And also from my human design perspective as well, this has been already something that I knew was coming, and astrology and human design just work so well together. They work so well in tandem. So we look at Saturn, the ruler, and it is retrograde and newly retrograde when this full moon happens, and it is in its fall in Aries. So what that tells us is that emotionally, this full moon does not feel easy. This full moon does not feel super easy because we already have Saturn ruling the moon, which is not like a great place for the moon. But then that ruler is in its fall. So, and it's squaring Mercury, but it is a separating square. So that's nice. But Saturn Mercury can be a very somber mind. This can be a very like pessimistic energy. So what I feel like is going to be happening for a lot of people during this time is that like there's going to be friction within relationships, and there is an invitation for you to step more deeply into your authentic self without abandoning the needs of the communities that you belong to, without abandoning the needs of what is socially acceptable 100%, right? Because if it was Jupiter and Pluto conjunct in Aquarius, it might be a little bit different, or in Leo, but it's opposite. And with oppositions, the answer is never solely on one side or the other. That's why with this Jupiter and Leo, like as a Jupiter and Leo person, and I have Mars in Leo and I have my rising in Leo, there's this, you guys, I have to just show you, like, look at my view right now. It's so freaking beautiful. I'm in Czechia right now. And that's if you see me looking over there, is because I'm just like, what is so freaking beautiful? What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The opposition's always like, everyone's keeps talking about like, oh, it's time to shine bright. It's time to shine bright. And I think that's absolutely true with Jupiter and Leo. But this Pluto opposition is like, you're going to have to work to shine bright. It's not going to feel like when Jupiter moved in Leo, I woke up that day and I just took a deeper breath. I really did. I'm not going to lie. But also there's been this tension, and I know you're feeling it too. And you're going to have to work for this growth. And it's not working in the way that squares work. I talk a lot about oppositions, especially in mapping the shadow. This is a core aspect of transformation. In-depth psychology is working with oppositions. So yeah, this is not going to, it feels like there's going to be chaos. It feels like you're going to have to set boundaries. It feels like you're going to have to do this work, and you're going to probably feel pain and sadness. Like it doesn't really make sense on why you have to do this. And this may look like relationships ending, or it may look like for you some sort of transformation that had to happen in relationships in how you show up. And this is going on very, very personally for me as well. So I very much really relate to what these things are happening, because once again, this is happening in my 1st and 7th house. So it's very personal for me. And my bee friend has a wide open window that it does not want to go out of. I am just doing my best to like meditate, to sit with my body and understand where the tension is, and just sitting with it and doing a lot of different things, different, somatic techniques that are really like my techniques. I'm sure other people have created them or something, have a name for them, but I really learned through experience of healing my body and from chronic pain and all these things, how, different techniques. So regardless, that's really what I want you to hear is this. The sadness or the pessimism is just a result of what you cannot see yet. You cannot see the end of the story yet. The fears that are coming up, the restrictions, the limitations, really, it's just in the mind. They're not as real as they feel right now. They're not as real as they feel. And with Mercury in Cancer, I really want to invite you to not take things so personally. When I was in my 2-week silent meditation retreat, which was beginning of June, it's been crazy since then. I've had back-to-back trips. So I haven't had a lot of time to like talk about it, because I've been trying to process everything while I'm like moving around. And as a human design projector, travel really takes a huge toll on me. But one of the most interesting things that happened was I was on this retreat, and there was a day where, it's a silent retreat, but you can write notes to your teachers. I've done 4 silent meditation retreats. I've never written a note to a teacher. It's just like not, I don't know, I'm just not like that. This time around, I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to ask for help. So I did. And days go by and I don't hear anything back. And I'm seeing everybody else get notes back. I'm like, what the heck? So we had a meeting with another teacher. And I was like, hey, just like, how long does it usually take? And, I was like, I'm starting to kind of take it personally. And she was like, no, don't take it personally. Like, he probably just lost it or whatever. So that day that he lost it, I was thinking about it. And because I had done a video on July or June's astrology, it was Mercury square Saturn. And Mercury was in my 12th house in isolation, in a silent retreat. And Saturn was in my 9th house, teachers, gurus. And he had not written back to me. And I felt rejected, right? So this is the kind of thing that I'm saying. And then I wrote another note and I still didn't hear back, you guys. I was like, oh my God, I was like, it's so hard not to take it personally. But then, I talked to the other teacher and she was like, yeah, he doesn't know what happened. He's really sorry. He was going to write back when so anyway, regardless, my point is that number one, my point is that astrology can really help us make sense of life in that way, because I was taking it really personal. And I remember in my June video, I was like, don't take things too personally. And when I was able to symbolize the fact that, oh, Mercury is squaring Saturn in my 9th and my 12th, this is not personal. This is just how those universal archetypes are moving through me. And this is something that I use astrology for all the time. And when I do it in Mapping the Shadow or any of my frameworks, that is really how astrology helps us bypass the ego and go into the unconscious and go and see what's beneath the surface. I'm definitely gonna make a second video on this because this is a lot. Okay, let's go into the human design a little bit. And maybe in my second video, I'll just go deeper because like I said, there's just a lot of stuff happening here. So in human design, this is happening in gate 41 and the sun is in gate 31. We've got actually quite a couple of channels, which don't always happen. So we've got the 2145, which we often call the money line in human design. And then we've got the 4130, the channel of fantasy. So we've got the moon, Pluto connecting to the north node to make this channel right here. Oops. So this is a huge evolution this is showing us that there is a massive evolution happening regarding what you're releasing. With gate 41, this is a gate of contraction. It goes from the gene key shadow of fantasy to anticipation. And it's really about, this is the start codon in Gene Keys and in human design, which essentially means it's like the beginning of something. And it happens in the root chakra, as I mentioned with the somatic aspect. When we have root chakra activation, the instinct is to do something. There's a pressure to act. And what I believe is really happening here is that we are really moving toward a new way of living by releasing, or a new way of taking action by releasing old ways of taking action, because this is a release-oriented transit, right? So with the moon and Pluto making this channel with the north node, this is a huge part of not just your evolution, but the evolution of everybody, of humanity. It's necessary. That's what I'm saying. Like, you might not see the fruit of your labor quite yet. Life is just so nonlinear. We just have to learn to love living it. It's actually one of the things that I've been struggling with since I got out of my retreat. And once again, I haven't had enough time to process a lot of things, but is how much more interest I am in like experiencing life and experiencing sensation, rather than just talking about it, which in this realm can be kind of a weird thing for me to be reckoning with. But yeah, so this is really asking us to trust that there is a deeper purpose that is happening in how we relate to society at large, who we are becoming in society at large is really being influenced by how much we are willing to feel the maybe negative, difficult emotions that are happening here as we release an old way of moving towards something. So for you guys, like if you watch my boundary video, this might be that you're moving toward boundaries in a different way. But it's whatever situation it's happening in for you, it's not just about that situation. It's about how then you move in the world at large and how that can really affect your entire life. And the 2145 we've got is with Saturn and Mars. So 2145 being the money line is essentially, it's bringing us this desire to, number one, make money, okay? But not just to make money for no reason. It's to make money to feel financially secure enough to take care of our tribe. This is a very tribal energy. So it's not just, I want to make a ton of money for myself. I mean, of course, some people are going to think that way, but most people, probably people who are watching my video, are like, yes, I want money for myself too. Because yeah, of course, you deserve money to be able to do what you want. If I didn't make money for myself, I couldn't travel like this, but also to be able to then do the things that could help your communities, that could help you take care of your family, your tribe, your friends, your organizations, right? Aquarius is very humanitarian. So there is almost like this sense of detachment that we are being asked to have, Moon in Aquarius, Saturn, in order to make a decision that we feel is correct for us, in order to move into a space where we feel more supported, we feel more grounded, we feel more steady in our sense of self, so that we can eventually come back around and start taking care of the people we love. Again, it's like we're filling our own cup right now, but in a Saturnian, Aquarian way, which requires a sense of detachment. Just something about the Gene Key 41 is that it's really about alchemizing desire. That 41 to 30, that channel from the root to the emotional center, which, by the way, the emotional center is also going to be making people very emotional. So just being aware that this is going to be like most full moons, but we've got that extra activation where people are becoming very, very emotional. This is about alchemizing desire. That channel has a lot of desires, but the invitation here is to alchemize that desire through conscious participation in the present. This requires us to discern what desires we really want to take action on. And when we have the emotional center defined, I'm an emotional authority, so I'm very familiar with this. We don't act spontaneously. It's not like, oh my God, desire, act. That's how that desire, that root activation that I was talking about somatically, that's like, I gotta do something, right? Because the root center rules the adrenals. So it's like, oh, I gotta do something. But if we are doing that constantly, we're just offshooting a deeper desire that we're not seeing. And a lot of times this is unconscious, right? I have a deeper video on Pluto in Gate 41 as well. So make sure you listen to that if you're wanting to know more about, how this has been manifesting through our lives, but in the gate of contraction. So gate of contraction says, hold on. And then we've got gate 30, which is like this gate of feelings where the North Node is at. And it's like, but I need this. I need this feeling. But then you end up fantasizing it's like one of two things. You either end up fantasizing, not taking action, or you start taking action on every single desire, but there's a deeper desire that's going unfulfilled. I also have a video on the different types of desires. Actually, that would be a really great video for people to watch, where I talk about the two different desires and I give you questions you can ask yourself to understand, is this desire something that I'm actually wanting to move towards, or is it kind of a thing that I'm using to avoid certain feelings or to avoid my life? So I'll get that link down below as well. This is a time, though, that whatever desire comes through that you want to take action on, it's a waiting and emotional wave period, which is about 24 to 48 hours. If a desire is true, it's not going to go away in 24 to 48 hours, okay? Because people are like, oh my God, I need to act on this right now. And it's like, if it's a real desire, It's not going to go away. Feel into the possibility. This is not a channel of like, let me sit down and like plan exactly A, B, C, D, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how I'm going to take action on this. This desire feels really strong and I'm going to move toward it, even though I don't know how exactly I'm going to do it, because I trust something. I trust something bigger than myself. I've been talking about this forever, not forever, just me being a dramatic Leo rising. Everything is forever and never, you know? I've been talking about this for a long time. It's like since November, I've been feeling this energy of something else wants to come through you. And so I took time off from readings and everything this summer to see what wants to come through me. But I understand that life is not linear like that. It's not like, okay, I got this message, I need to take a break. I'm taking a break. And I'm like, hello, is anybody in there? Like, knock, knock, you know? But I understand that that's just not how life really works all the time. And this energy, by the way, is very much asking us to be patient and not go with the first thing that we feel because we're desperate, and rather have the patience to be able to hold the nervous system capacity to be able to hold more so that we don't do things like that. Pluto asks that you get discerning about new projects. What is the energy you're starting from? I talked about this in my last video as well. Is this desire planted from a seed of truth or fear? So this has been a relatively in-depth and hopefully cohesive feel for this full moon in Aquarius, which is essentially just inviting us to move in the world in a way that honors our deepest truth without abandoning that we need to be a part of the collective. I really do feel like it's really going to be asserting a lot of boundaries, or a way of, there is some sort of verbal thing happening because Mercury just went direct just like 5 days before this lunation, and Mercury rules Venus in Virgo and Mars in Gemini, which are both squaring each other. So there's been this period of like confusion when it comes to relationships and how we move toward our desires. And now as Mercury goes direct, it's like, oh, okay, now it's like the green light. With the green light to move ahead with something, to say something that we've actually thought through. So I really do feel like a lot of us are going to be saying things that are necessary in order to stamp our new sense of self into the world and become the version of ourselves that not only you need, but that society needs right now. I think that's the thing that helps me a lot with Aquarius energy, is to zoom out and be like, this is not just about me. Like, in a sense it is, right? Your experience, your life, but it's helpful with Aquarius to zoom out and say, this is about how I can show up in community, how I can be of service to humanity. I think in the Uranus and Gemini video, I talked about Uranus and Prometheus, but I said in there about how us being of service and using our gifts is a huge part of the pain, how we not relieve the pain of consciousness as humans, but how we are here to be of service because we have consciousness in that way, in the way that we do. And so if we're not offering ourselves to the world, then we're not fulfilling our purpose in some way. And that looks different for everybody. So just some things for you to think about. How am I stepping to a version of myself for me, yes, and also for the world at large? Who do I have to be and become in order for me to step into the world more fully myself and to be of service in the ways that I want to be of service, that I feel called to be of service in? If you guys are interested in Mapping the Shadow live call on August 1st, I'm so excited to meet with my community in that space. Do some charts, show you guys, because that's really where it comes alive, and when I can show you guys how I do the framework. I'll have Mapping the Shadow linked down below, astrology, human design, somatics, all the good stuff. I'll see you in there, and I'll see you next time.